So, very clearly he said the ISA is for two things. First, to counter subversion. Second, to enable necessary measures to be taken at the border areas to counter. Okay? That's the reason they introduced the ISA. Next. Okay, now, he went on to say, let me make it quite clear once again that the object of detention is to safeguard the security of the country and not punish persons for crime. Okay? Not for crime, but security as they saw it. Okay? And he said, most importantly, the person will not be detained not because he's a member of a lawful political party. Now all of you know what happened. Subsequently, many people in political parties were detained under the ISA. Okay? I believe at that time when the Alliance government introduced the ISA, they were really focused on the communists in the subversion. They were not thinking of other things, but events proved otherwise. Many of you may have heard of D.R. Srinivasan. He was an opposition MP, member for Parliament before. And that party, People's Progressive Party, PPP, not Javier's party. D.R. Srinivasan's party was opposition. Alright? And he said he objects to ISA on three grounds. Preventive detention without proper safeguards. Meaning you take people for 60 days, don't know where the blood is missing, we cannot do anything about it. Second, this is very important, organized violence, but it encompasses every citizen in this country, whether peaceful or otherwise. How do we know this law would be used against individual citizens? I tell you, some of these people, when they were talking, they must have had some big vision, because down the line, exactly these things happen. They were objecting to it that these things happen down the line. Okay? Powers given to the police are so wide, so terrifying, that every citizen of this country will be in constant fear. Which is true. We all came from Lotus to here quietly moving all over because we were worried of police. Alright? Okay, next one. And this I think was very, very important what he said. You pass this bill, but remember one day, somebody else, perhaps not as democratic as you, and he was telling Tundrasa in the Alliance government, may be sitting on that very bench, the opposition, the government bench, and when the time comes, perhaps not you, but the children of those who today support will say, my God, we regret the day we introduced this bill to this house. And I think it is a fact. Srinivasan knew what he was talking about. Alright? This is a very important part of our history. Ahmad Mustaman, anybody heard of Ahmad Mustaman? Surely some of you have heard. Party Raya. Those days, Party Raya. A freedom fighter. Also part of the Putra AMCJA. Okay? Basically, he said in Malay, and those days, the Malay language is written differently. Spelling, young people here may not be able to read. Basically, he said, you have given too much powers to the police. I fear for this country. You cannot control this. Okay? And he must against the ISA. Next. Who remembers Katuan bin Jafar? Who can tell me which party he was sitting in parliament? He was opposition.
Independent. Parti Negara.
Parti Negara. The man who formed UMNO in 1946 wanted to form just like saya anak bangsa Malaysia. He is the first anak bangsa Malaysia. Please know. In 1951, the independence of the Malaya party, he wanted a party for everybody, not by race. Got very frustrated when everybody let him down and formed the Parti Negara. Okay? And he said, although he agreed with the bill, he wanted the bill to go to a select committee. Those who are not familiar with Parliament, this is how a bill act is passed in Parliament. First reading, the minister says, saya memohon to table this bill. just for information. Then the second time is called a second reading. A second reading is the minister responsible explains why he is introducing this bill. Okay? And then there is a debate on the general aspects of the bill. Then the third reading is when they go into a committee stage. A committee means they go line by line, check objections, whatever. And then finally the bill is passed, it becomes an act only when the above signs it. Okay, ratifies it. So what Dr. Ott said is, don't be in a hurry to pass this ISA bill, refer it to a select committee. That means a group of parliamentarians from the government and opposition side get together to study this carefully and see whether we need to make some changes. But the government, because being in the majority, rejected that. So it never got to select committee. Mr. Chin Si was Seremban Timur, MP for Seremban Timur. And to be fair, he was an NCA MP. Even he objected. He said he's very worried about giving the powers of preventive detention for a period of 2 years, which is too long. Okay? So even the government MP was a bit worried. To be fair, okay? Next one. Anybody heard of Karam Singh? You all heard of Karam Singh, right? Karam Singh.
Karam Singh is the Malay version of Kapau Singh.
He was one of the most, I'll tell you, one of the most brilliant lawyers in this country. Really brilliant lawyer. Karam Singh, he was a member of parliament for Damansara. If you read his language already, you know how powerful his language was. He said, this is not independence if you are going to make this into a police state. Because that is what he said ISA will do, and true enough, that is how it became. I'll just give you a moment to read that. It makes this country a complete police state. Anyone, even leading members of opposition parties, can have their political activities controlled and curbed and their freedom completely destroyed. Karam Singh said this on 22nd June 1960. In November 1960, Karam Singh himself was taken under ISA. Yeah, this is a fact. 60 Party Rakyat and Socialist Front members were taken into ISA and November. So they were not talking in a vacuum, just Panta, Raja. They knew what was coming. Okay? Next one. Now, 2 years after they all had testing, he came back and gave an assurance when he was going to the final reading of the bill. He said the government considered this very necessary and we should, under the present circumstances, have this bill. The government also accepts that the principle of preventive detention is only a matter of necessity, needing, because we must prevent subversive elements from jeopardizing the welfare of our young independent nation, 3-year-old. Okay? He said, even Tun Razak, he said, he knows that this is a very wide law, but at this time we need it. And maybe it was how they understood the situation. The promise said was real, they wanted something. Now, this is very important. Tun Dr. Ismail, later Tun Dr. Ismail, Batu Ismail was the Minister of External Affairs and Foreign Affairs. He said, in a parliamentary democracy, powers given to government are powers given by the majority of the people of the country. And no government, and I think this is a very important quote we should send to Abdullah Balawi or Najib when he becomes Prime Minister, worthy of his name in any democratic country will dare to abuse these powers so long as parliamentary democracy exists, because public opinion is the restraining influence behind any government in any democratic country. Meaning that the people actually have the power, Makar Sakti. Okay, that was what Louis once said. And he said, this last one is important. I say, let these powers be abused, and you will see how the people in the country will rise against it.
Yeah.
And I think